When you received your Yak brochure a couple of weeks ago, you would have no doubt noticed the advertised theme on the front of the brochure. You perhaps may have saw when you opened up the brochure, you saw it, an electronic version. There's a Bible text printed on the inside of the second page. It was printed on the front of your booklet that you were handed just before. It's the very same text that's printed on the bottom of the programs that are pinned up around the place. And it is, as you will see soon after the meeting, it's the very same Bible text that is printed on the backside of your hoodie. If you have all, chapter 16 and verse 24 is that text. If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Those words define our theme for this weekend. Following Jesus. Would our Lord explain what it is to be a genuine Christian? He effectively outlines where to begin following Jesus, and he also gives us the essence of what ongoing following of the Lord Jesus is like. Without this, you and I are headed for hell. And so these words of Jesus are absolutely essential if we are going to know ourselves, if you are going to know, if you are a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. I simply introduce the subject of following Jesus by preaching on what we've entitled The Call to Follow Jesus. If you haven't noticed it already, in the booklet we have dedicated a page for each of the preaching sessions, and there's another session tomorrow morning which will be more interactive in Bible study. And so there's a blank page there if you want to take notes in the midst of the booklet. But our focus now, the call to follow Jesus, is not going to be Matthew 16. The text that's everywhere, that we've printed on everything. Those words of Jesus in Matthew are also in Mark. And I want to go to Mark because Mark actually fills out the background just a little more to see how this Bible text has such broad relevance. It's relevant for everybody in the world. It's relevant for everyone here this evening. I've got a question for you. Who knows how many Bible verses there are in the Bible? Have a guess. Come on. Number. Give me a number. Realistically, how many do you think there are? 26,000. Anyone higher than 26,000? You need to go higher. There are 31 to 2 or 103, depends which webpage you look at, verses in the Bible. We are not going to expound any more than one tonight. Okay? The other 31,101 or 2, we're going to leave for another time. That's all our focus. If you haven't got it, open it up and look with me and we'll read it in Mark's account. Mark 8:34. When Jesus, he had called the people to himself, with his disciples also, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Things I want to show you in this text. The crowd, the call, and the conditions. Notice firstly the crowd. At the start of verse 34, Mark introduces the words of Jesus by saying, when he had called the people to himself. What people? Well, you know the context, right? Verse 27, if you look up there, Jesus has been with his disciples in the northern region of Galilee in Caesarea Philippi, and they're actually on their way back from there. They're now moving south, that's way up in the north. They're now moving south through Galilee. They're on their way to Jerusalem, crucified, and he is going to die. And as they began to travel, he began to teach his disciples privately about something that was going to happen in Jerusalem, that is, he's going to die. Look at verse 31. He began to teach them, that's his disciples, that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. That's a private instruction. And from that private instruction with the 12, now as we come into verse 34, Jesus wants everyone to hear these next words. become obvious that he could easily draw a crowd. People were keen to see him do miracles. You realise, don't you, that free food is a powerful incentive for people to gather together. We've proven that in our family. We offer people free food and they just seem to come. In chapter 7 of Mark, chapter 4, he feeds 4,000. Thousands, and that's 4,000 plus, right? Thousands flocked to Jesus. Yet Jesus knew that the crowds were following him largely because of things that they could gain, and he also knew that most of those were not willing to pay the price to be his true followers. And so in verse 34, Mark tells us that Jesus called the people to himself. Jesus wanted the crowd, he wanted the masses, he wanted the local Jewish residents, he wanted the people from villages, all of them, young people, older people, he wanted them all to hear about what he was going to say, and so he calls them to himself. And he knew that in that crowd there would be people who would come out of curiosity. He knew that there would be people coming because they knew that he knew that there would be people coming amidst that crowd whose lives were in a mess. He knew that there were others who had established in their mind, maybe they were young people like you, they had a clear plan for their life. They had it all mapped out, but Jesus wasn't in that way. He knew that people would come because they saw Jesus. And he also knew that others were more cynical about who this Jesus guy was. And yet the vast majority of them were not converted. They were not committed to him. And then Jesus calls them, because he wants them to listen to what to them. And yet Mark also tells us, not only did he call the people himself, but he tells us there in verse 34 at the start that he also spoke these words to his disciples, to those who had already left their old lives of self behind to follow him. They had already humbled themselves under the lordship of Christ. He had already left behind the tax office. James and John had already left the boat with poor Dad sitting there by himself. And also went. Verse 34, when he had called the people to himself with his disciples also them. And so the words that Jesus speaks are words that are obviously both for the unconverted and the converted. To people who are not committed to following Jesus, and for people who are already committed to following Jesus. Here's another way of saying follow Jesus. Discipleship is not a second step in Christianity. As if one first becomes a Christian and then chooses to be a disciple. That is the impression that Christians, along with talking about, well, there's a new convert, and now the new convert's doing a discipleship program. As if a disciple is a postgraduate level. As if a disciple is someone who's taking a second year. The Bible does not make that separation. Being a Christian is the exact same thing in the Bible as being a disciple. What Jesus says to his disciples, it's the very same thing that he says to the mass gathered together. There is one body of truth for that mixed gathering. Some of that will come to those people because of where they are spiritually. It will come to their ears with an evangelistic intent. Jesus come to him for the first time. For others in that same group, his disciples, his close ones. The words that they hear, the same words that the others are hearing, those words are coming to them to help explain to them what it is to be an ongoing or in an ongoing discipleship relationship. So you see, the point I'm simply trying to make is that these words of Jesus that we're about to look into were going to be considered had an impact on the entire crowd. These words are relevant for the crowd of humanity. Everyone should become a disciple of Jesus. That's the essence of what this says. So Jesus' idea is, well, no, this is the world's idea in comparison to Jesus. Well, you can be a Christian, and you can be a Muslim, you can be a Hindu, and that's okay for you, and that's okay for you, and that's okay. No. He's calling everyone to be a follower of himself. Everyone in that crowd, a mixed gathering, hear these same words. From those who came from the remotest village in Galilee to those who just live around the corner, the entire crowd of humanity with no exception, Jesus. Every nation, every tribe, every generation of humanity is called to follow Jesus. From West Papua, the Moi people who we just heard about, a spirit worshipping Hawaii, that man we just heard, to the murderous tribes of South America, with the Alca Indians to whom the American missionary Jim Elliot went to preach this same message in the 1950s, and we'll hear more about that story throughout the weekend. Whether it's in South America, whether it's in Papua to our North humanity, from Papua to Ecuador to Thaguna, to this little crowd here tonight, to every one of you, Jesus' words in Mark 8:34 are for you. Jesus is speaking to you. If you are already a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ, He's speaking to you through this passage. And maybe you're someone you think that you are saved. But perhaps you're not. Or everyone else would think that you are a Christian, but in your heart of hearts, you know you're not. Jesus is speaking to you. Jesus is speaking to the entire crowd and the part of that crowd. He called the people to himself, with his disciples also, and we're in the crowd. He's speaking to us, he's calling to us. We need to listen. We need to have ears to hear what he is going to say to us. Are you ready to listen to the Lord Jesus? Think of it. The Lord Jesus is going to speak to you through the Bible. That makes this meeting right now something very, very special. Are you listening? There's the crowd. Let's now think secondly of the call. Look at verse 34 and let's listen to what Jesus says here. Jesus says to them, whoever after me, whoever, no exception, whoever, anyone, all, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what you've done or what you haven't done, it doesn't matter how much you know, how much you don't know, to come after me. There is no restriction in this call. It's open to all who would hear it, wherever these words go, wherever these words reach, whichever ears these words come into. The words of Jesus come to us. They come into your ears now. Are you interested in following Jesus? Do you desire to follow after Jesus? What's it say? Whoever desires to come after me. Literally, this has the idea. It's like Jesus calling us to line up behind him. He's the leader. And he calls us to come in behind him. I remember as a kid at primary school, that's a very long time ago, it's about 40 years. But I can remember that far back, and I actually remember one of the popular games that many loved to play was a game called Follow the Leader. Maybe you remember that. Or maybe they didn't do that when you were at primary school. No. PlayStation? Well, let me explain to you about different ones would have a turn as being the leader. And there'd be a long line of followers. It's a really difficult game. Didn't matter if the battery went flat, didn't matter if the electricity went off, you could still play this game. Wherever the leader went, everyone would get. And so in the context of where I went to school, all the buildings were up on one level, and you went down these steps, lots of steps, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe more, down to the level where all the ovals were, down the creek level, where I guess flood sometimes. And so if the leader went down the steps, everyone, single file, escorts around it and all fly around, up around to the lunch area, undercover area, up over the seats, everyone would follow, everyone would fall in line. Wherever the leader went, everyone would get in line and come up to that one. Here is the Lord Jesus. Line up behind him. He says, anyone wishing to come behind me. A YO. In the isolation of the Moi jungle in West Papua. You come. You line up behind me. To spear Jim Elliot and his 4 missionary friends in Ecuador. You come. Yes, you murderers. You come and follow me. Here in Mark 8, remember, it's a mixed multitude. They're standing before Jesus and his broad invitation goes out to them all. You come, you come, you come. You follow them. So many in that crowd, even one of his own. Remember, it's not just mixed, it's the disciples there as well. 12 disciples. And even one of those 12 disciples, one of his closest followers, who's giving the impression that they wanted to his heart, Jesus calls all of them to come in, line behind him, to walk with him and to walk after him. However, Jesus wanted them to understand what it actually meant to follow him. That following Jesus wasn't necessarily going to be all bells and whistles all the time. It wasn't always going to be easy and fun, like gathering with other young people for a weekend like this. There were many at this point in Jesus' ministry who were giving the external impression that they desired to follow after Jesus. And surely that from external is pretty impressive. Thousands of people come and all that through. Thousands of people to listen to him preach. That must have seemed so encouraging. But they needed to understand what it really did actually mean to follow him. You see, it is relatively easy to give you and follow Jesus. But you need to understand that Jesus actually outlined certain conditions for following him. You don't determine those conditions. You don't determine them. I don't determine them. Determine them. He's the leader. Let's come now thirdly and see what those conditions are in the latter part of verse 34. So thirdly, the conditions. And what are they? Let's read them. And you see them. You try and work out how many there are here as we read it. Whoever desires to come after me, here is the call. And take up his cross and follow him. How many do you see? Answer? 3. That's it. Jesus outlined 3 aspects, and each of them are commands. And do notice the word "and." Each must be in place, otherwise you are not a follower of Jesus. You can't just say, I'll just go to the first one and get about the other 2. Or I don't actually like that middle one, I'll just go for the last one. No, you've got to have all 3 if you're going to be a follower of Jesus. Lays down. Now let me try, as we look at these 3, let me try and be as simple as I can. Let me put it this way. When you go on a journey, it's fairly normal for 3 basic things to happen. You say farewell, you pick up and you start your journey. That's the 3 things. And you do see that, don't you? You see that all the time. You see that in the departure lounge in the airport. Some of you probably saw it this morning. You didn't maybe register that's what you were seeing, but you saw that. People say farewell. You probably did that. You got to the airport. You pick up your bags and you began to go. Maybe you didn't happen to hop on a plane, but you hopped in a car. You do the same. You said farewell at home. You pick up your bags and you started your journey. Well, they're the basic three things that we see here Jesus speaks about. You see, this is disciples. We must say farewell to self. We must pick up, or you must pick up your cross. You must get on your way. You start the journey which ends in the destination of heaven. Now let's deal with the three things quickly as we move our way through. Firstly, the New King James puts it this way. It says, let him deny himself. That's perhaps a little weak, as I said before. It's a command. And it's sort of like, that's a bit soft, let him deny himself. It is, you must deny yourself. That is a must here. This is a command. This has to happen. He's calling for a decisive choice here. He's calling for a defining act here. There must be a clear break. There must be a parting. There must be a farewell. And Jesus says, you must deny yourself. This word deny means to abandon. Deny is a call to utterly separate yourself from someone or something. And who's the someone that Jesus is mentioning here that we must abandon? Self. Self must no longer be your supreme interest in life. In other words, Jesus' first condition. All self-centeredness, self-ambition, self-esteem, self-focus, self-importance, self-satisfaction, self-absorption, self-advancement, self-dependence, self-interest, self-righteousness is to be abandoned. I must come to the end of myself. I must abandon myself. Now that is radical. Because we live in a world where everything revolves around self. Protect yourself. Promote yourself. Entertain yourself. Comfort yourself. Abandon yourself. Deny yourself. Isaiah 53 says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. That's the essence of the sinful nation. Their own way. That's the fundamental starting point for all of us. Whether we're born into a Christian family or not, it makes no difference. We are all basically self-centered, self-consumed creatures. We see ourselves as the centre of the universe. My sin. It is a recognition that I fall short of the glory of God. Jesus says this is what my true disciples do. They abandon their self-centeredness, their self-focus. They recognize how far short they are of God's glory. That I cannot save myself, that I have no need. That becoming a Christian is not adding Jesus to my life. It's virtually coming to a place of self-denial and self-humiliation. That I am nothing, actually, in myself. That I can do nothing to commend myself to God. I must. And so if anyone wishes to be a follower of Jesus, he or she must once and for all say farewell to self. Just like a traveller at the airport. You think about it. Refusing to part ways, he's not going anywhere. And so if you refuse to obey this command, and you will not part with your idolatrous attachment to yourself, your Christianity is going nowhere. The plane's not getting off the ground. The plane's still attached to the gate. All that you might profess, or all that you might know because of all that you've been taught, most of you from your youth, you're simply not lined up behind Jesus. You do not say farewell. You say, whoa. Look at verse 35. What did Jesus say next? Whoever desires to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake in the Gospels will save it. And so if you don't say farewell to self, you can say farewell to heaven itself. You can say farewell to that destination that the plane of grace is not going to get you there. true follower of Jesus is one who has detached himself from self and attached himself. So the first thing is going to be as simple as possible, saying farewell. Number two, taking up what's yours. What's Jesus say next? What's the second part of this condition? Then you deny yourself and take up your cross. Not only say goodbye to self, we need to also pick up our baggage, as it were. We must pick up what is ours. Be carefully, Jesus' language here. See what it says? Take up which cross? Whose cross? Take up his. Not even Jesus' cross. It's your cross. It's to be my cross. Of course, when you go on a journey, you do have to make sure that you've got your bag, right? You need to carry. You don't want to do what I heard someone do some years ago. And this someone, a number of you actually know, so I'm going to hide the identity. This person got off the plane. And by the way, it's not me. This person got off the plane and they got a bag. Looked like their bag, exactly the same as their bag. But it wasn't their bag, they got the wrong bag. And they took their bag home. And as soon as they opened the bag and saw the contents, it's like, oh, horrors! I've got someone else's baggage. What's Jesus carry? His baggage. His, in the language of Jesus Christ. You know, when this crowd heard Jesus mention that word cross, that was radical. We hear it, we're so used to it, it's just like part of the religion. It's just like, in that ear, out the other. Hardly even process what it was. When you heard it, I would imagine. It's like that to me, unless we really stop and think, what's this? This cross, it's not a nice golden piece of jewelry. When the people in the first century, in this mixed cross, it was like their jaw would have dropped. And it was like, for them a Roman cross was a public instrument for execution. The cross for them was the most barbaric form of capital punishment known to man in that time. We might say it was a bit like the electric chair or something. It was in the sense of it being a thing to execute someone and take their life, yes. But in terms of its form of execution, it was far worse than the electric chair. This was the most barbaric form of capital punishment known to man at that time. The cross was something reserved for the worst of all criminals. If you were around, you would never be crucified. Because they didn't treat their own that way. Because their own would be treated better. This was reserved for the worst of the worst. It was considered not only painful, it was considered shameful to die on the cross. You know, when a criminal was content to carry on his back or his shoulders at least the horizontal cross member, if not the whole thing, from where he was sentenced to the place where he would be crucified. The entire crowd, the entire town would come out to witness the event. It was a very public spectacle. It wasn't a private. People would line the streets, and we can picture that because we know that's what happened in Jesus' day. But it wasn't just reserved for Jesus. This was a fairly normal thing, if you were. But Jesus, he walked down the Via Dolorosa, didn't he? The way of suffering from Pilate's judgment hall. And he took his cross through the streets of Jerusalem, outside to the hill of the skull, to Golgotha or to Calvary. You know, when he did that, when the criminal did that, it was like a public declaration. It was like that person, that criminal saying, I have been tried. I have been found guilty before the law. I have read the higher authority of Rome. And I submit to that verdict as I carry my cross. In that culture, there was no redress, there was no appeals process, there was no appeals court. Couldn't do what the Indonesians did. They didn't have that facility. When the sentence issued, death was given. Was it? It was so certain to be carried out When you're carrying that cross, you were as good as dead. And so you see, when Jesus to Jesus' followers that you must take up your cross, it was absolutely radical, because the cross represented so much in their mind, in their culture. Yes, death, yes, shame, yes, all that horror. Public declaration that I'm doing. So we must see that we feel found guilty before God's justice. We have sinned against Him. The Scriptures say, do they not, that the wages or the payment for my sin is death. That the sentence over our heads has been handed down, and we must accept the verdict and humble ourselves under the Lordship of Christ. He's the highest. I have no life in myself. No personal ambition, no confidence in self before Him. No. All who are true followers of Christ, they cannot do that secretly. Jesus calls for public declaration. In those days, everyone knew where they stood. There was no confusion. There was no guessing. There was no, well, is that person, where do they stand? There was no presuming. There was a clear public declaration of what path you were on and where you were headed. And there was no thing of trying to hide it. And Jesus goes on to mention this, in a sense, by way of some of his incentives later, right at the last verse in this chapter. Look at verse 38. Jesus says, whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation will be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. True followers of Jesus don't hide it from their friends or family. They openly declare it to others. A true follower, if that's what I am, shadows, and as I do, I take my cross, and with every step I deny self. I carry my cross as I walk through the street of my city. I carry my cross as I walk through the lecture rooms of my uni. I carry my cross as I walk down the corridors of my office. Everyone can see it. I am dead to self, but I'm alive to Christ. Being a follower of Jesus isn't always going to be fun. It's not always going to have that look of success. It is not always going to be that. It's not always going to be glamorous. Carrying a cross back then was degrading, it was humiliating. Following Jesus at times can be tough. But by God's grace and in His strength, God and for the cause of Christ, what is the alternative? Serious question. What is the alternative? You see, Jesus outlined something of what the alternative is, 36 and 37. What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? Yes, carrying a cross might get heavy at times. Yet painful at times, because it wasn't a smooth gold piece of jewelry. It was rough and splintery and it dug in. But it's the path to life. The end of verse 35, whoever loses his life for my sake. The third aspect of the conditions, using that little analogy, starting with you. What's he say? Verse 34 again. Whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up and follow me. Now this particular command is in the present tense. In other words, he's saying true followers of Jesus begin and they keep following Jesus. What's the point of saying your farewell? Picking up what's yours and starting your journey and then stop. Well, listen, you're never going to get to your destination if that's what you do. There is no such thing as a temporary Christian. You follow, and you keep following. You walk through those golden pearly gates into heaven. My sheep, Jesus says, hear my voice, and they follow him. The true follower of Jesus does all three of these things. Deny self, takes up his cross, and follows him. You see how personal this last one is that Jesus said? Follow me. Personal pronoun, that makes it personal. Follow me. Not follow a church, not follow a man, not follow a ministry, not follow a style of ministry. Follow the person of Christ. Christianity is a personal knowledge of Christ, a personal relationship with Jesus. Have you got that? I'm persuaded that almost all of you have got a knowledge of Jesus Christ. Some of you have got an excellent knowledge of Jesus Christ. Dan now, I'm confident that most of you do a very good job. You get a very high score. You've got a high knowledge of who Jesus is. But do you know him yourself personally? Are you with the Lord Jesus Christ? Are you following him every day? Jesus here is speaking about a strong personal attachment to himself, submitting to him in love, walking with him every day, whether you're at work, whether you're different, if you're a true follower of Jesus, you will follow him and you will keep following him. This is going where he goes. He's the leader. We're behind him, remember? Follow me. This is doing what he does. Follow me. Live. This is loving what he loves and hating what he hates. This is suffering what he would suffer. Peter says in 1 Peter 2, to this you were called. Christ suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow in his. It's putting our feet in his footprints. That's why we have deliberately used the footprints in the title of the theme, printed on your snapback or your hoodie or on your booklet or on the program. Still this into our minds. It's us putting our feet in the footprints of the Lord Jesus. 1 John 1:6, he who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as Jesus walked. It's to head in the same direction as the Lord Jesus, lined up behind him, and we are following him. We're walking his way. We're heading in the same direction that our Lord is heading, and ultimately we will arrive in the same destination. He's our forerunner. He has gone before us. He's opened up the way for us. Jesus calls us to separate from the crowd. But it's part of the deal. To separate from the crowd, to die to self, and to come and follow me, he says. Have you heard? Jesus called you. I want you to look with me back at the verse one last time and listen to Jesus speak to you. Whoever desires to desire to follow Jesus, what's he say? Let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. He has spoken. He's called you personally. Each one of us must do this. No one of us can do this in our own strength, sure. But no one can do this for you. I must be decisive here. Jesus. And you know what that means? Thinking of footprint things. You can't have one foot in Jesus' footprints and the other foot with the world. You can't. You just can't. So it's saying for the rest of my life, it's going to be me following Christ. Regardless of what ridicule I hear from the crowd, I will follow Christ. He is calling you. Have you heard him? Through these very words, his own words. What your words? If you have not been saved before tonight, you must come. You must leave all behind. And not waiting until tomorrow, but stepping out of the crowd and coming to him and following him right now. Isn't that time? Some of you need to stop pretending and stop trying to have one foot here and one foot there. But bow your heart to the Lord Jesus Christ. I know many of you have already come to Christ. Have you heard his voice? Speaking to you? Can you see clearly now how you are to follow him? Daily denying self, saying farewell to me every day, picking up what's mine, walking after him from this day and every day for the rest of my life with a sense of incredible privilege to be a follower of the greatest being ever. Whatever the crowd thinks, that's wrong. They might intimidate, they might ridicule, they might even be the majority. That's not it. Wrong! And so to follow him is the greatest thing to do. He went to the cross to die for me, to save me. So I'm now glad. What is the essence of following Jesus? Well, it's Mark 8:36. The crowd, called, and the condition. Let's read it. When he had called the people to himself with the disciples also, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Our Lord Jesus, we come to adore you tonight. We come to adore you because you love us, to call us to yourself. Lord, you know where we are headed otherwise. You love us enough to tell us what the course will be like in following you. Up front with us. You give us the heads up, Lord, right at the beginning. We thank you for that. We thank you that you are the God of this entire world. We thank you that you are the God of grace. We pray that you would extend your mighty arm, that we may, each of us, every one of us here, may be true followers of the Lord Jesus Christ. Teach us then, Lord, throughout this weekend more and more of all that is involved with this. We pray in Jesus' name.